Thanks, Bernie. We hope we'll have I'm going to go through very quickly a few. Veronica, will you put me on? I'm technologically challenged, as you know. I think you understand when I said there's not many people that know what goes on Capitol Hill in D.C. like the folks at Cornerstone and Bernie Hubert. He's really proud to have him as a representative of the U.S. rice producers, that office up there. I just want to share with you about 4 or 5 things on the policy side that is important, and 1 or 2 in particular. You know, this week that the president did sign the North American Free Trade Agreement. Really didn't, there was no change in any tariff structure for grains. It did open up a little bit more the markets for commodities to Canada, some new access. It did address some SPS, sanitary phytosanitary commitments, and a mechanism for dispute issues, but now we'll wait for Canada, who is expected to pass it when they go back into session. China, as you know, we had the big famous phase 1 signing this last January the 15th. We're obviously got the attention of the entire agriculture sector in the United States. It did set in a new approval process for rice facility registration. Medium grain was addressed, which is very helpful for our producers on that end. The USDA is saying that U.S. rice exports could exceed $300 million a year. So, the China issue will continue. The phase 2 is 6 months away. Is that correct, Bernie? Roughly set for that. We may learn a little more today at noon about this from Ambassador Dowd at his speaking at noon today. So, one thing I like, the SPS measures must be science-based. It kind of straightens up the Chinese on some of their attitude and behavior towards certain things. And the domestic support programs of China have to be in alliance with WTO. Ourselves and the USA Rice Federation have big screamers about the number of countries that have been out of compliance with WTO and have where we have an unlevel playing field. So I know you're attentive to China, and we're looking at $40 to $80 billion in that market. I wanted you to say that back 13 years ago, people thought, why even spend any time with China? But we received, the U.S. rice producers received funding under the USDA's Emerging Markets Program to survey Chinese consumers. And we had been doing some demographic work in China, and these surveys in supermarkets was basically, if U.S. rice was on the shelf, and even though it costs more, and especially rice, high quality, would you pay for it, even though it's priced higher? And 80% was, yes, we would. And the main reason is because they didn't trust anything that they'd eat in China. Can't even eat good bats today over there, right? Okay. Sorry, I hope there's no press in here. So South Korea, we got a new quota, duty-free, 132,000 was done this last year. We had hoped to get that a little higher, but that gives us in quota duty now is only 5%. And you'll notice if you're shipping outside of quota, it's 513%. So that was a big win for the U.S. rice sector of this last year. And this is what I want to bring to attention more in particular, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. We are not in the TPP. We elected to leave it. I think we're better off in it than out, but I don't like this treaty at all. Of the 11 countries, you see that Vietnam and Mexico, Canada and Peru are in it, Malaysia, Borneo, Chile's in it, whatever. Can you imagine if Vietnam has duty-free access to Mexico, what the repercussions could be? The phase-in period for the Trans-Pacific Partnership is only 10 years. It started with a 20%. It goes down 2% each year. So in about 2 more years, it'll be at 10% and then go to 8%. If you look at international prices, and it could be affecting other commodities too, if you look at the other countries involved. But Vietnam, most years, is able to land milled rice in a Mexican port $50 a ton cheaper than the United States. So the Trans-Pacific Partnership is something that we need to keep our eye out on because it is going to affect the U.S. rice sector. Mexico is the largest market far and away. They do have a new relatively new president, Lopez Obrador, who is, far left leaning, interesting. He thinks he's going to make Mexico self-sufficient in rice and other commodities. Making Mexico self-sufficient in rice is like Arkansas is going to become the largest pomegranate producer in the world, maybe something like that. But and I'm going to mention it a little bit later. One last thing: Central America. What's ongoing there is a Central American Free Trade Agreement is phasing in. It'll go to it's a 20-year phase in. It affects 250,000 or more acres. Our concern is what will it do to us when we get down to zero on the milled versus rough rice exports? Everyone thought NAFTA would change the structure of the percentages of paddy, but it hadn't done that. Is Central America any different? But we're studying that. U.S. rice producers initiated the effort to do an analysis. We spent $50,000 along with the USA Rice Federation to analyze this market, and that is ongoing at this time. I wanted to go back to Mexico right quick. This is in Nayarit. This is Brazilian Irriga 424, a very good quality rice. Nayarit is the only place in Mexico that has extremely good rice production. We're working with those people because we want to help try to do something to keep Vietnamese rice out. And we are working with them to go to the Mexican government, explain to the government that if they're going to support their farmers and become self-sufficient in rice like Arkansas is in pomegranates, then they need to support working with the United States and start to be aware or put something in place that deals with the residues coming out of Vietnam. Crop residue and other issues that have been a problem in other Vietnamese markets. So we're trying to work with them to get this done. I'm going down to meet with the Secretary of Agriculture in Mexico this spring about that. But you can see they're bringing in equipment from Mexico, this group. Very interesting. And we want to go down, do some, with Rice Tech, Horizon, whoever, some experimental tests, give them some attention. They won't grow enough rice in our lifetime. And then last, each year I do the large America's Rice Conference. Every year we have 35, 38 different countries coming to it. It'll be in Panama. That's where you can meet with the people that buy your rice, process the rice. It's a great event. We're going to have a special reception at the Panama Canal. So make your plans for Panama. That's all I have. We are 1 minute late. If you have one question, you can ask, or you feel free to visit with Bernie. There may be someone else using this room after us. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.